Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. And going back to Ireland, because this week I have as my special guest on the podcast, Alex Cunningham, who is the Earl of Mount Charles and is the proprietor of Slane Castle. And if you live in Ireland, you probably know about Slane Castle. You probably know it more due to its history with music rather than with whiskey. And for people elsewhere, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you have not heard of it, but you've probably seen Slane Whiskey on your shelf. Well, today I'm going to be doing a tasting of not the regular flagship version, but instead the special edition that is being released or has been released in commemoration of 40 years of music at Slane Castle. Really cool story. It was a fantastic place to visit, and Alex told me a lot of the history. Got to watch a video of his father, who's still alive, unfortunately not in the best of health, so we wish him well. But his father was known as the rock and roll aristocrat, and this name came about because to help save Slane Castle, which had been in the family for quite a few generations, the decision was made to hold concerts down at the bend of the River Boyne on the property. It's a natural amphitheater and was the perfect place to have a concert. So the first concert was in 1981. There were 3 acts, and the headliner was Thin Lizzy, which is an Irish band. You probably know the song "The Boys Are Back in Town" or "Jailbreak." The second band on the bill was an Irish band that not a lot of people knew about back then, but they definitely know about them now, and that is the band U2. An interesting thing about Slane Castle, as you'll hear in my interview with Alex, U2 has a special relationship with Slane Castle because they actually recorded an album inside the castle, and that album is Unforgettable Fire, which is one of my favorite albums by U2. So very cool to get a chance to step inside there and see what it's all about. And you can do distillery tours there, and those are at the old horse stables, or you could do the tour of the distillery and tour the castle. So a 2-for-1 there if you want to do that as well. So I have not had on my show before the proprietor of a castle, so watch out for my interview with Alex. It should be a good one. And let's go ahead and jump right in doing this tasting on this special edition. And let me explain why this is a special edition and what makes it special. The way that Slane is made is that basically they decided to take the 3 main styles of Irish whiskey, single grain, single pot still, and single malt, blend them together, and then age in 3 different types of casks. So they age in American oak, being ex-bourbon, virgin oak, and then in sherry casks. So what is this thing, virgin oak? What does that really mean? Because we don't really hear that in the United States that much, but it's said in Scotland, said in Ireland. The idea is basically it's what we do with bourbon over here. We put it into a new American oak barrel. And so they're putting it into a fresh oak barrel that they toast, they can char, they can toast. Now, Slane is owned or has been invested in by Brown-Forman. So Brown-Forman, Old Forester, Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, they got lots of barrels. And not only do they have lots of barrels, but they also have the ability to make their own barrels, because I've been to their cooperage in Louisville, well, actually the one that's at Old Forester, which is a little mini one, and also to the one in Alabama, in northern Alabama. And so they can make a lot of barrels there, and as Chris Fletcher at Jack Daniels told me, he said, Our greatest advantage is that we get a chance to have barrels made the way we want to have them made. And so when Slane became a company associated with Brown-Forman, they also got to get their own special barrels made, and those are their virgin oak barrels. Now, what makes this different from the regular Slane? Well, basically what they do is they take those 3 different types of barrels and they just up the proportion of what they're putting in from the virgin oak barrel. So they're giving, in this whiskey, you more of a taste of what the virgin oak tastes like. And I was lucky enough when I went there and I met with Alex that I got a chance to taste all of those separated, so I could taste the sherry version, I could taste the virgin oak version, and I could taste the ex-bourbon, or we should say ex-Jack Daniels barrels. They can't officially say ex-Jack Daniels barrels because there's a chance maybe another barrel might get mixed in there from Brown-Forman, but they are specifically looking at Jack Daniels barrels because they love the banana note the same way I love the banana note. So those would be the barrels that would be influenced here. So when you taste them separately, you do get that banana note in the one that is in the first fill American oak barrels. You get more of a toasted flavor off of the extra virgin barrels, and you get, actually my favorite was the sherry, and apparently in travel retail you can get a special edition that has boosted the sherry side of it, and I would love to taste that because I think the sherry one is excellent. They were all good, but that one was the one that really stood out to me. So when I got this bottle, because I didn't taste this while I was there, I was thinking, okay, you know, I'll like it, but you know, that probably wasn't my #1 in terms of the 3 broken out deconstructed samples that I got. But I have had a chance to nose and taste this, and it's very interesting because it still has all 3 characteristics in there. On the nose, I get a little plum. I get the banana note. But I mostly get this toasted note, and this toasted oak note comes along with a smoke. And when I say smoke, don't think a peated smoke, because it's not what it is. It's more of a wood smoke. And it's almost meaty. I want to say it reminds me a lot of Old Forester 100, has kind of this meaty character to it, and some Isla whiskeys that I've had. Actually, one that definitely has it is KO Mizunara Oak, the Japanese Mizunara Oak. That has this same kind of meaty smoke character. It's really, really interesting. And I don't remember smelling that actually when I was doing my tastings of the deconstructed, so it may be something that just is being enhanced by the addition of these other 2 whiskeys in there, just a blending of smells. 45 ABV on this one. He says, Alex says that is in honor of the 45 RPM record. I know you youngsters probably don't know what the heck we're talking about. I had a stack of those. Used to have a record player that you put your 45s on, and you would stack them up, and it would drop one at a time, and then play it, and then lift the needle off and pull over, and the next one would pop down. I mean, you could have maybe 5 records on there. I mean, you guys are spoiled these days with these MP3 players. I'm telling you, or, you know, being able to listen on your computer or whatever. I mean, now I carry around, you know, tons of music on a USB stick that's about yay big. So times have definitely changed. Plus, you don't get the little scratchy noises that you used to get when a needle would dig into a record. Or you had to put a penny on the arm of where the needle was to keep it from skipping. You want to put a little weight on it so that it didn't skip so much, and then that would just rip right into the record. And then every time you listen to your song, it's like, not good. I get why people miss records, but there are things about records I don't miss. Cheers. Love the mouthfeel on that. And what I really love in this is that the pot still component comes out. There's a little pepperiness. You get this grain note coming through. A little bit of a tea note actually comes in. A little plum note in there as well again. But you mostly get that toasted wood flavor that comes in. So like I say, it is still bringing you all of these different characteristics. But I don't have a whiskey where I can point to it here in the American market where I can say that is a true single pot still experience in terms of what I got when I went to a lot of the distilleries that I went to in Ireland. To me, the pot still whiskey has this graham cracker honey flavor that comes in that this has, and also has a little bit of a citrus note, a lemony kind of a note, and also comes across with a pepperiness. And I got all of that in this whiskey along with all of the other little pieces of it. So it's a tremendous blend. It's really interesting now that I'm really being left with that black tea note that is really just hanging on the palate at the end. But so is the grain note. So is that little graham cracker note is just kind of lightly in there on top of it. So I like this. And honestly, I did not think I would say this, but I actually like this better than the regular flagship Slane. And I think it's because maybe with time, these whiskeys are now starting to really come of age, and we're now getting the real personality of these components, whereas before it was a blend, and yes, they were in there, but it was a younger whiskey, and so maybe we weren't getting the full benefit out of it. I don't know, but there's definitely something different in this whiskey from the bottle of Slane that I have that is the flagship. I think the flagship is a great value, and if you're going to start on Irish whiskey, it is a great whiskey to start on if you've never had Irish whiskey before, especially if you are a bourbon drinker, because I think that it has some of those characteristics that you're going to enjoy in it. It is triple distilled, but it is still very full flavored. So whatever they're doing, they are doing it right. So I say, this is a hard one for me because to kind of put it on my scale, I don't like weighting things by value. In other words, if something is a value whiskey, I don't like boosting up the ranking by saying it's a very good whiskey for the value. When I say very good, I mean very good. This is one that I put up there with some of the better whiskeys that I own, whereas excellent means it's top tier. So, I mean, a value whiskey would just have to be absolutely exceptional to hit that top level, and it's very hard for a lot of them to get to the very good category. I will say this is on the edge. This is I'll just go ahead and say this is a very good whiskey. This is a very good whiskey, and cheers to Slane, because I think Slane is doing, they are out ahead, creating really great whiskeys that are going to introduce people to what is to come from all the other whiskeys that will soon be hitting the market. So bravo to Slane, and hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned something from it, go ahead and give me a like. I would appreciate that. And subscribe if you'd like to watch more episodes, and leave me some comments if you have any questions along the way. I appreciate you guys being here. Until next time, cheers and Slán Java. Don't forget to watch my interview with Alex, or hopefully the video turns out. If not, it will be on the podcast. Cheers.